Hi everybody, this is Langdon White. I'm going to demo SQL Server in a Fedora container for you. First, let's take a look at the Docker file. If you notice, what I do is I download the repo file from Microsoft.com. Then I install SQL Server, but I also have to install sudo because SQL Server uses it internally. I also tried to set up the atomic run labels, but couldn't get my environment variables to work correctly, so if someone has ideas, I would appreciate hearing them. So there's the Docker file. Then we also have kind of a handy script that will launch the Docker file. So we'll just take a look at it. This isn't really meant for like production use cases, so it doesn't do a lot of things that it probably should do, but it does the basics so it can get it launched. So first thing it does is it requires the SA password. SA is sysadmin, I think, but it's basically root in the SQL Server database. And then it asks you whether or not you want to build the container itself. We already have it built, so we're going to run it without that flag. So we do have to pass the password, but I'll show you it running using bash in debug mode. And look at that, doesn't look like much, but here it is. So my super secret password sets some memvars and then launches the container. Now we can see there's a container there, and take a look at the logs just to see that it launched. And oh, look at that. So now Docker PS, and you can see it's running on the server. It has this name MS SQL Server. It's running at the 1433 port. Now, just to demo that it's working, we have to get the client tools, which I've also included in the Git repo to make things a little easier. So in the SQL client, I wanted to actually put this in a container as well, but couldn't figure out how to make the container except the EULA that happens in the RPM install step. So instead, I just have a install locally script, which needs to be run with sudo. Basically, that does essentially the same thing. So if you look at the script itself, it grabs a repo for the SQL command and then installs it. And it installs SQL command, which is pretty straightforward. And you pass it the username you want to attach with and the password you want to attach with. And hey, look, now we're inside a SQL container. And let me grab my cheat sheet. So SQL Server has a weird thing where you kind of give it a bunch of commands and then you say go to get the output. So we're going to say this is basically just list the databases, and we get some by default when you first install it. Normally you would drop like tempdb before going to production. And that's about all there is to it. Thanks for watching my little demo, and you can find the repo on container images under MS SQL Server.